Welcome to James Jackson Museum of African American History. We want to continue to present history of African Americans in relationship to Muskegon. Today we have one of our elders who migrated here and became one of our citizens. He's going to tell you his life, his experiences, and hope you can profit from it. Mr. Williams, to my left, and further to my right is Dr. Dr. Willi Burrell. Sometimes my mind doesn't operate. And we're going to start with Mr. Williams, and the first thing I'm going to ask him is, tell me about why you came to Muskegon in 1949. Okay, what made you want to come up here?
Okay, I heard about how good work was in the state of Michigan. And so when down that part of the country, things used to get very slow in work line from July and August and like that. And then I found out you could work on the harvest. So, in other words, I came up here and worked on the harvest. And I kept with every day. I was up here in a place called a Burrell travel city called Southern Bay. And get a paper every day. And watch for the ads of jobs. Well, I come to find out most of all the places was on strike and whatnot. So, in other words, it was a bad year that year, and so I returned back to Arkansas because I know work picked up in September.
Well, I want to ask you, why did you start and why did you leave your home to come here?
Okay, well, that was the beginning of it. See, while I left my home to come here, I hear from different people what come up in this part of the country. Most of them had jobs making much better salary than I was making. So I felt that I should be able to make some of that too.
This was in 1949.
Yeah, that was 49. But that year, it was bad here. So, in other words, I returned, the last August, I returned back to the state of Arkansas.
How were you treated in Arkansas? Yes, how were you treated in Arkansas?
Well, for work concern, some of the jobs, some of them was very hard jobs. And a lot of the jobs, you could get along pretty good, but your salary was so low. You only could make somewhere between the range of $5 to $7 per day. And so, in other words, I come to find out people was making that in such a shorter time than that. So that's why I made a decision.
Go ahead.
And another thing too, my father-in-law, he lived up in White Cloud. Okay, my wife, she used to like to come visit them. And so, in other words, we come up to their place, and then I would search for jobs. But in 49, it wasn't.
Keep going.
Yeah. So then, in 50, I didn't come into Michigan. 51, I came back to Michigan. And that's when I had made a decision, when I came back to Michigan, to find a job, and I didn't have no certain city, just anywhere I could find a job. So Muskegon paid better than a lot of the places over the state. I didn't want to live in Detroit. I heard too much about Detroit.
Did you ever work on a white folks farm down there to help make a living for yourself, or the WPA, or
Well,
what was the survival mechanism?
well, I was raised up on the farm. I guess I was one of the best farmers that was for my age, because I had people all the way from, I would say, 20 years old to 80-some years old was well experienced farmers. We used to raise real good crops and things, but it just really wasn't no money there. We had plenty to eat, but no money. And that don't work out. You got to have both of them.
Now, when you came up here, how did you come up?
Well, when I came up here, last time in '51, I had a Nash car, and a lot of more guys want to come to Michigan to work. See, our plan was we come and work in the harvest and make some money, and then we go job hunting. So that's what we did. I came up here, I had a Nash car, and I don't see no more of them around, but anyway, that's what I had. And it was a truck, a guy had a truck out of Bly Block or so. It was probably, I don't know how many, 15, it's probably anywhere from 15 to 20 people on the truck, and 2 or 3 cars with the truck.
That's how you came up?
Yeah.
Was the streets paved when you came here?
Was it what?
Streets paved, or was it dirt and sand?
Well, when I came to Muskegon, most of the streets was brick street. Yeah, that's right. Brick
Tell
street.
me about living, homes, and the atmosphere in Muskegon.
Okay, that part was very, come to find out, jobs were good and easy to get. But if you had black skin, you just couldn't get nowhere to stay. That was the part. You know, it was some houses that had 3, 4, and 5 different families jammed up in one house. And you just, places to get to stay, it was just too hard. You couldn't find them because there wasn't enough people to rent to you.
And was the rent high?
Well, no, not really. Back at that time, no. It was sort of set according to what you was making, you know. But it's not, it wasn't stretched out like it is now, though.
Did you find much discrimination when you came here?
Yeah, it was worse than down south where I came from.
What makes you say that?
Yeah, it really was. Because when I was living at my home, we never really had no problem, amount to nothing. But when I come to Muskegon, I found all kinds of prejudices. Some of them I didn't even know nothing about.
Well, name them for me.
Okay, such as if you, like you want to go buy a car or something, you know, you come to find out they charge you more for the car, you know, if you had black skin. I'm telling you just like it is. I wouldn't tell nothing wrong. That's the way it was. And other words, let's see, mostly all the black people came to Muskegon. They worked in the foundry. Well, that was about the only type job you could get because they wouldn't hire you in these other places. No, they wouldn't. Now you take CWC, Lake Foundry, West Michigan Steel, Clover Foundry, all them, they almost never worked there with black people. See? But when they get out past that, you wouldn't get hired. You see a few guys working on different jobs around. It's just like a guy lived up there by me. That years ago, he was about the first person, I guess, worked for the city black. Thomas. Yeah. But them kind of jobs, couldn't get them.
Well, how about buying a house?
Oh, that was a problem. If you, if you found somebody would sell you a house, well, you better believe it was a house sitting there looking like a house, but it was roach den, rat den, and whatever, you know. And at that time, you could buy a house anywhere from like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,000. Yeah. But the thing about it is, other words, wasn't too many people gonna sell your house. Because if you was a black family and was able to buy a house on a block, well then all the whites jump up and move.
In other words, if the white people they had the houses and they wouldn't sell you it.
That was just the way the rent was. They wouldn't rent to you.
You really didn't have the money to pay anyway, did you?
Huh? Well, what I mean, yeah, because at the time, after you get here and go to work, well, if you shift it a little bit, you're going to save you some money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I could have bought a lot of houses. But no, they wouldn't. And you could go ask, say, see a sign for rent. Half the guys wouldn't even talk to you. If you asked them about a renting apartment, no, I don't want to rent no apartment. All sorts of
This was in 1950.
Well, that was a little after
1951.
Yeah, coming on down through the 50s. Yeah.
Well, tell me about the stores and the theaters and going in and buying, and how did they treat you?
Well, some like going to a theater. Well, I never really went to what one. It used to be one right up there on the corner of Second. I think that was, I forget the name of it. But anyway, it was a jewelry store right up on the front on Western Street. And it was sitting in between Clay, where the bus tunnel was there. Well, yeah, that's the only one I went to. I went to one down by Bishop's Furniture down there on the corner to see a couple of films. But you really didn't have no problem there. See, why you run into problems is getting a place to stay and working conditions. That's why you run into problems.
Well, what about your kids? Did they, how did they survive in school and get into school and back and forth like that?
Well, my oldest child was a boy, okay. Now he was going to Fayetteville School. And as kids will do, when school was let out, in other words, I had done bought a house on Jackson Hill in 308 Jackson. And the principal said he was running through other folks' yards. And we went down to the school, and he sent a note by him to come for the parents, that child to come to school. We went down there. And the principal named Nobody. I'll never forget that. And he was talking about different things. And he spoke to me in a word like this. He said, well, freedom just don't all come at once. This is the words he spoke to me. Yeah. And I asked him, what did he mean? Well, you couldn't expect full freedom. I told him, I said, oh, wait a minute. Now, you talking about something that is 100 and some years old. Why you think I've been all these years? That's what I asked him. He wouldn't say no more. He didn't want to talk to me no more.
How did other people treat you? How did other white folks treat you?
Well, most of them was nice. you'd have problems on your job. When I was working at Lake Foundry, okay, it was certain departments they didn't want you to work in.
So what did you do?
Well, see, the union finally got rid of that, you know, because otherwise they carried that on through the war, World War II, and it was some kind of act. If you strike, you know, you could be charged with a charge against you.
How did black people treat you when you first came up?
Well, them what was here, they was selfish to themselves. So every group mostly come in, they associated together, you know. That's the way that was.
In other words, there's a lot of discrimination among us.
Yeah, yeah. Them what had been here, they would with own problems stuff. They would they still under the act of it, like it was still World War II. Yeah. All this old kind of stuff. If they rent you a place, you sleep. You sleep tonight. Next person got the same room. He sleep today.
That was called a hotbed.
Well, whatever kind of bed it was. Yeah. And it was just like most of them places where we could get to stay. You talking about a dump? They was a dump. Yeah.
So black people exploited you along with the white folks.
Yeah, if he's here and had a toehold, sure.
Tell me, how about transportation, getting on a trolley? You had a trolley here then?
Well, we had city buses. There were city buses here.
Was there discrimination on them?
No, I didn't find no problem with them. They traveled from downtown to the heights and whatnot.
Oh, how about grocery stores and barber shops?
Well, if you was black, you went to a black barber. If you was white, you went to a white barber. Because, see, they was discriminating in that. In other words, you couldn't walk in a white barber shop and get a haircut.
How were the police?
Well, that was one of the best things here, was the police.
They were kind?
Yeah, we didn't give them no problem. They didn't give us no problem.
Did you think this was a step up from coming from the south?
Well, just for the salary I was making, that was the only different thing. That was the only thing kept me here, because I really enjoyed down south where I was. If I could have been earning the same amount of pay that I were here.
You didn't say where you came from.
Blytheville, Arkansas,
All right.
along the Mississippi. That's other words. I ranged from 75 north coming out of Memphis, or either going back to Memphis. Blytheville is 75 miles into Memphis. And I was raised up just below Blytheville, a little place called John, Arkansas, which is no more.
So when you came here, you were able to save money enough to buy a house.
Yeah.
And did you go back home after the 50s?
No more to visit.
To visit. But you didn't want to stay.
But see, my main goal was, I know that if I saved enough money, could go back home and buy me 40 acres of land, I had it made. See, but when I got that kind of money, because see, land, that type land through that part of the country, at that time sold for $1,000 an acre. But you could find it every once in a while to buy. But that's what it costs you. A water hole, a ditch bank, or whatever. That's what it costs you.
Tell me, when you came here in the 50s, what was the city like? The surrounding area? Were there blacks in Muskegon and Muskegon Heights?
Yeah.
And Norton Shores didn't wasn't, we can say wasn't founded then, huh?
No.
There.
Well, see, one thing about it, a lot of the people live in the hike. I understood their problem easy because places were short. A lot of them used to go, and if you buy a lot, he'd dig him out a basement, put his basement in. See, that's one thing they had a lot of trouble, a lot of people. If he got his basement in and put a top on it, he'd move in it. And it was against city orders to do that. But the places were just, so short, they wasn't so hard on them, But you had to continue to work on that house, though. Yeah.
Now, when you all would go shopping, sometimes like you go to the banks, you might be the first one there in line. Would they?
Well, you didn't have no problem with that. There wasn't one thing wrong with the bank. You could put all the money you want in there, but they wasn't gonna let you have none.
Well, I mean, if the people were standing in line, would they pick the white people before they?
No, they wouldn't
yeah.
do that. No, they didn't do that.
Okay, now, was Muskegon, North Muskegon, there present when you were here? Had it developed?
Yeah, most of it had, especially along the lake. But I didn't have no reason to go out there.
All right, now you lived in Muskegon when you came here.
Mm-hmm.
Did you live down what they call the bottom?
Yeah. We got a park over there now on Yuba Street. Right up as you come down the hill by the farmer's market.
Yes.
Yeah. Right through there. That's the bottom they be talking about.
And so were mainly black
Well,
people
it was
living there?
mostly up on Yuba Street were white people. Because Reverend Buckley was at that time, he was down on the corner of Marquette and Ottawa in a big house. Can you think what that is now?
Yeah.
Yeah, as you see, Marquette run clean cross back like you're gonna go out in the lake, Well, Reverend Buckley right there in the corner. That's where the people went to New Hope Church, and he so many people went. He was trying to get him a church, and in other words, he finally got the money together, and he bought this church up there on Yuba Street, New Hope Baptist Church.
Did you go to church?
No, because I worked all the time. And on a Sunday for recreation, if I was off on a Sunday, well, I'd take my wife after she came up here, and we used to walk down on the lake, around the lake down there. Yeah. So, other words, it in some instances it was good, in some instances anybody could have had it.
Well, tell me the good and tell me the bad.
Okay, it's just like, for instance, we were talking about the bank a few minutes ago. Okay, I want to buy me a pickup truck, a GMC pickup truck. And I had over enough and hacked the bank to pay for this truck. And so, other words, the guy said, well, you pay so much down and get the rest financed. But see, he turned it into hack the bank, but they wouldn't finance it, Then after I got the truck, it was a white man down south, give me a recommendation, He said, well, let him have it. That's what he told the salesman, And so it wound up, I bought the truck, it's true, but you know how I got it? I had to pay for it cash out of my pocket. In other words, at that time, you could buy a brand new 3/4 ton pickup for $1,800. That's what it cost you.
That was in the 50s, huh?
Uh-huh.
Early 50s.
Yeah. That's you could buy a brand new one for that. Rena, I know, 'cause I bought one.
Well, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Did you feel when you first came up here, or you were up here, that you could go any place around in the area? You talked about walking along the waterfront.
Mhm.
Would anyone, were you prohibited in certain areas you couldn't go?
No, not that way.
So you could take your car and drive all around the area?
Yeah, you wouldn't have no problem going up and down the street and whatnot like that. Wasn't a
What
problem.
about the restaurants?
Well, I really didn't go to them.
But what was it about them? Could you have gone and sat in the same areas as the white people?
Well, other words, I got the news before I went there, so I didn't go.
Because you couldn't sit with them.
No.
So you felt your experience coming up here, you felt it was worthwhile?
Yeah, with what I earned, sure, yeah.
And were all your were your other two children born here?
Yeah. Yeah, each one of them 5 years apart.
So you kind of enjoyed coming to Muskegon then, huh?
Well, for job concern, earning a living, yeah.
But you rather have been down south?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get over the money. That's when I used to work all them hours. Said, well, I'll get it someday. And I did get it. And then when I went home, you know what had happened?
What?
They had studied up an idea. You know, just like you plant your cotton and whatnot. And they come out with a poison to kill, you know, other words, to kill the leaves on the cotton.
Yeah.
Because you could use the cotton picker machine. See, but then that poisoned the area. See, that was the only reason I didn't go buy the farm then. See, other words, they had to put on these artificial wells, you know, ever so far apart. And people right down there today, they pay water bill in the country just like you pay it here. Because they poison the country with that. Because see, for that machine to pick the crop clean, other words, they spray the cotton, and then the leaves fall off, and then the machine would pick it clear.
So that they ruin, trying to make a high profit, they ruin your sense of living.
Yeah. Yeah, see what they was trying to do, they was trying to save after the machines come out. They was trying to save the labor price.
Let's talk, because you worked at, what, Camel's, Lakey's,
Well, I worked at Lakers
first.
first.
What was
22
the
years.
attitude towards you at Lakey's, and especially towards us, we can think
Well,
in terms of African Americans?
Depends on, in a way, who you were. If you was an easygoing guy, people used to push over you, you know, just make you do unnecessary things. But we had a union president at the time named Jeff Harrell. And it was always problems that he would have about the workers and everything.
Was he black?
Yeah, Jeff Harrell. And so, other words, if we hadn't had a union, I just don't know what. But the union made the difference.
How?
Because you had somebody to speak up for you. If they always, a lot of them had a problem if you didn't do just what he wanted you to do, you was fired. You know, kick you out. Nobody to speak for you.
This is like a new master, huh?
Uh-huh.
But in a different area.
That's right. And he tricked you too if you didn't understand.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the way that was.
Now, your mom and dad, and your biological your sisters and brothers, were they all born down there where you were in the
Mm-hmm.
South?
Yeah.
Your mom and dad. What did your dad do for a living down there?
Well, my dad always he could do a little anything. He was a mechanic, but what he really was a sawman at a sawmill.
He was a lumberman.
Yeah.
And,
But my mother and dad separated though when I was 7 years old.
oh,
And I was mostly advised by older people around, especially my mother's brother. That's who I always would follow around.
Did you get to go to school there?
Mm-hmm. You could go to school. You had your own school. It was the worst looking building in town, but you could go to school. And in certain areas, you could finish 12th grade.
What was elementary like and kindergarten and like that? And the schoolhouse, was it a one-room school place or two-room?
Well, and that if the population was so heavy that you couldn't have one room, you had to have a lot of rooms. They used to, most of the schools was built, they built a long building, and they used to build, in order to cut the rooms off, they'd have these folding doors. See, in other words, like this here, with hinges, you can, when you keep pushing, until you, other words, you could go from one room to the other one. That's the way they was cut off inside. Yeah.
tell me, could you vote at that time?
Well, you always could vote in the state of Arkansas if you paid your poll tax, which you could be fined for if you didn't pay it.
What was the poll tax?
$1.
$1. But if you couldn't pay poll tax, you couldn't vote. What else couldn't you do? What else couldn't you do if you didn't pay poll tax besides not besides voting?
Well, nothing. You just wouldn't be, couldn't vote. That's all.
So if you paid your poll tax, they didn't prevent you from voting.
No, you didn't have that problem. You know, it's a funny thing. I was raised in the state of Arkansas, but I never really knowed until I was up here in a grown man that you couldn't vote in the state of Mississippi, because then nobody never talked about that.
They kind of evaded it like it wasn't there. Huh?
Uh-huh. And I was listening on TV after this here slavery was over, where all states was supposed to turn in something like an application, no more slavery in the state and whatnot. And after 147 years, Mississippi hadn't even turned theirs in. Now that's here news just come out last week.
Did you ever go to Mississippi?
Yeah, I went to Mississippi.
Did you ever have any trouble in Mississippi?
No, because I was working on a big White House truck, and didn't nobody bother them people.
Did you see people living better in Arkansas than Mississippi?
Well, they live better in Arkansas than they did in Mississippi. Because they see the Mississippi is a whole lot of poor land. And in Arkansas, we had that rich
Red
land.
Sun, yeah.
Mhm. And the only place that was out the west part of Arkansas going into Oklahoma, that's where you run into bad parts of the land in Arkansas.
But you never saw black folk being beat by white folks or beating each other or anything?
No, but you know, every once in a while people they have a problem or something like that. But it would, you know, soon be worked out.
Tell me this, when you were in the South, what was the role of the preacher to the community, the black preacher?
Well, some of them was pretty good. Some of them was pretty good, but some of them, all he wanted to go down, preaching the same old sermon every other Sunday, and that, you didn't learn nothing from that. So he wasn't very much help that way.
Okay, now you came up here. What was the difference in the preachers up here?
I found the same thing.
Well, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
You had certain communities you could only live in up here,
Mm-hmm.
and that you felt you were being exploited both by black people and white people.
Yeah, that's what you seem to see. I see that more when you first come here. But after you come in, you know, you be making a living, get along all right. Well, you just them what's like that. You just didn't pay them no mind. You go ahead.
How did your wife like it when she came up here?
Well, she liked it pretty good because she's at home with the baby.
And you could make a good living and
Yeah.
take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the good things came out of you coming here and the bad things that came out of you coming here. Can you kind of tell us?
Okay. One thing, maybe when I left Arkansas, if I hadn't had the plans of coming back, it wouldn't have seemed so bad, you know. But I feel, see, other words, work him, it, like when I got hired in, everything was up to 99, 100%, you know. But then after then, work went, go down on you, be out of a job, you know. You don't know which way to go or whatnot. So that part was bad, you know. But after all, if you use a level head, you could survive okay.
All right. Well, what was some of the good things that you felt that was different from where you came from?
Well, it was. I felt I had a better chance, you know, because I could earn more, you know, from my work and everything, and which. But I still say I believe if I hadn't left home with the attitude that I'm gonna earn enough to come back and buy this part of land and whatnot, you know, and live good. But, you know, that's the way I felt about it. But sometimes I wonder, was it really worth all the problem?
In other words, you felt you could have stayed in the South and done pretty good.
Well, no.
No?
No, because my earning wasn't high enough. See, that's the thing. Just like, for instance, okay, the best you could make at most of the jobs, okay, some few guys, because I had a cousin, he could make $50 or $60 a week, but he was a plaster, you know, plaster house, you know, stove coat and whatnot. But just ordinary, let's speak about the ordinary man. You could make something like $28, $30 a week. And it was your salary.
But you couldn't live on it.
Yeah, because you had to live on it. Doesn't mean you wanted to do better. Yeah.
You just made it.
Yeah, you just could get by.
But you couldn't accumulate any wealth.
No.
Huh?
Did you experience a lot of prejudice here when you came, that the white people that came from down through the South prejudiced the black people here against black, the ones that was coming? Because I've heard people say that they did.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is true.
It says that when it would come here from the south, the white people that would come here from the south would prejudice the, black people against against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they would take sides with the white people.
Yeah, it was, all that kind of stuff was going on. But after you live around such as that, then you know I guess I don't know how you would say this. I guess you get immune to it. You put your finger in your ear. You don't want to hear it. You just gonna do what you gonna do.
When did you see this area begin to start growing?
Well, for the hikes, for building, whatnot, it was on the bill when I come here. The people in the hike was trying hard. Mostly it wasn't no building downtown. Mostly all the houses downtown was already built and everything. And while you run into a problem downtown, I know, I hate to say the word, the N word, but it's a house over there about 3 blocks behind where I live right now. Other words, I done got rid of this house I had in the city, and I went out here off of White Road, and I bought a 40-acre farm out there. And I was coming in to work one particular evening, even Dr. Howell. Okay, these people bought this house up there where the fire barn now, right now, a door or two from it, on Marquette, before you cross the bridge, you know, going over to the college side. And they had done took a spray can and wrote all on the house, selling to end, you know, all on the house.
Sell it to end.
Nigger.
No.
Yeah,
Don't
that's the
sell
way
it to
was.
them.
Huh? Well, that's what they had wrote on the house. To whoever owned the house had sold it to black people.
Oh, okay.
Tell me this. When did you ever feel a part of the area? In other words, did you ever feel comfortable up here once you came up here, like you had done in the South?
Well, it was a long time. It was a long time because everything you go to do was always different from there, you know. And I imagine it wouldn't have been the same, you know, it would probably been the same there if I had to come from some other place there. But see, I was where I was raised up at. And I pretty well know everybody from young people to old people. And I always tried to be intelligent around people. I didn't have no problem with nobody.
That gave you a sense of community.
Yeah.
Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what that was.
Well, can you think of the worst thing that was done to you when you came up here? If you can talk about it.
Well, I can talk about it. The worst thing I ever run into was when I came here, no place fitting to live in. Or every place you went to was a dump. I remember I had a rented apartment down here on Ottawa Street, 555 Ottawa. I'll never forget it. And this here, I went in there and the hole knocked all in the wall. Well, see, the regular city dump, it used to be in one of them points on the lake, see, down here, right off of Ottawa. And they used to, Pittsburgh used to come out there, and they dump paint. There's a lot of different stuff you could use, you know. And so I went, other words, now I'm paying $13 a week for the little apartment, you know. I went and fixed the apartment up nice and everything. And the lady named Mrs. Bradley, I never forget it. She come knocked on the door and she said, No, she wasn't. No, what it was, she wasn't. She wasn't at home when I went to pay her. She come down to the house, cause she know I pay her. And she come there and knocked on. I said, "Come in." She come in and said, "Oh, what's done happened here?" I done got me some plaster and fixed the holes and all that. Had it all decorated and painted up. And then when she said, "Well, I tell you, next week your rent gonna be $15."
Ooh, cause you fixed up your own house.
Yeah.
Her house.
Yeah.
She's gonna charge you.
Yeah, she did do
Oh,
that.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Did you move out?
No, I stayed there till I went up and bought a house down on Jackson Hill. No, I didn't move out. But everywhere you moved in, mostly you had to fix it or something.
So who was your renter? Was they Caucasian people or black people?
This one was a black woman.
A black woman doing you like that?
Yeah, and she didn't only have that. She had every building she could get her hands on. You know, under her contract. You know, she rent to us. You know, different one of us.
She was a good capitalist, huh?
Well, I don't know what she was.
And,
Yeah.
well, now you're 83 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and you look around, and what has all this change mean to you, or do you see a lot of change?
Well, I see a whole lot of change. I've lived to see a black president. That means so much to me. And just a lot of more different things. You know, you used to go walk into a grocery store. There wasn't no black girls checking out and stuff like that.
There you go.
No, I'll tell you what, it's just a world of change. It just needed so much to change and need to happen till you can't see what's done happen. Yeah,
You never believed it like it was, huh?
no, you can't believe that.
A lot of changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you around when they had the civil rights movement was active in Muskegon?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, it needed somebody. You know, and this other boy now, I don't want to go too far into it, but see, when Dr. Howe, Dr. Jackson, and who else all joined in together, things began to change. Because it really was a problem.
How did you see things changing?
Well, you could see something happening that you hadn't seen before.
As
Can you
far
give
as
me an
jobs?
example?
Well, just like I made a few, different people went to getting jobs that never would have had a job at these different places and whatnot, just so on and so forth.
Did you ever participate in that with them, or you were busy working and you didn't, just didn't have the opportunity? Or what?
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I didn't do too much into that. But, see now, I was listening at Martin Luther King. He tell the people, you can march with me and everything, said, but no violence. And see, it's just like a guy with some boys down there on Western Street way back, and they was protesting, and the man kicked him. Well, see, now, I don't want you to kick me. I ain't gonna kick you, and don't you kick me, so I just stayed away from that. That's the way that goes.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna respect you, but I don't want you kicking me, hitting me for nothing.
That's right.
Yeah. So he'd tell you to stay away, and I wasn't hard-headed. I stayed away.
Let me ask you this. Do you like being black?
Yeah,
Why?
'cause I'm black.
All right, I think this has been excellent. Because what you have in your head will never be on book.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to put it in this museum so people can get the thoughts and ideas of some of the past.
Mm-hmm.
Because we always feel if we know the past, we don't make the same errors over again.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to know the past of our people, which is in our land,
Mm-hmm.
and the young people know that this didn't just open up and here we are. That the struggles of people like you came here, worked hard, and had faith in yourself, in your surrounding community. And we thank you very much for coming, because you're going to be in this museum,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like being in a funeral home. It's even not like being in a church. It's the people's place that can come in and see what's happening, think about it, and give them some thoughts to go on. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome. You are welcome. For work concern, some of the jobs, some of them was very hard jobs. And a lot of the jobs, you could get along pretty good, but your salary was so low. You only could make somewhere between the range of $5 to $7 per day. And so, in other words, I come to find out people was making that in such a shorter time than that. So that's why I made a decision.
Could you? Go ahead.
And another thing too, my father-in-law, he lived up in White Cloud. Okay, my wife, she used to like to come visit them. And so, in other words, we come up to their place, and then I would search for jobs. But in 49, it wasn't.
Go on, keep going.
Yeah. So then, in 50, I didn't come into Michigan. 51, I came back to Michigan. And that's when I had made a decision, when I came back to Michigan, to find a job, and I didn't have.
Welcome to James Jackson Museum of African American History. We want to continue to present history of African Americans in relationship to Muskegon. Today we have one of our elders who migrated here and became one of our citizens. He's going to tell you his life, his experiences, and hope you can profit from it. Mr. Williams, to my left, and further to my right is Dr. Dr. Willi Burrell. Sometimes my mind doesn't operate. And we're going to start with Mr. Williams, and the first thing I'm going to ask him is, tell me about why you came to Muskegon in 1949. Okay, what made you want to come up here?
Okay, I heard about how good work was in the state of Michigan. And so when down that part of the country, things used to get very slow in work line from July and August and like that. And we come and work in the harvest and make some money, and then we go job hunting. So that's what we did. I came up here, I had a Nash car, And I don't see no more of them around, but anyway, that's what I had. And it was a truck, a guy had a truck out of Blythe, Arkansas. It was probably, I don't know how many, 15, it's probably anywhere from 15 to 20 people on the truck. And 2 or 3 cars with the truck.
That's how you came up?
Yeah.
Was the streets paved when you came here?
Was it what?
Streets paved? Or was it dirt and sand?
Well, when I came to Muskegon, most of the streets was brick street. Yeah, that's right. Brick
Tell
street.
me about living, homes, and the atmosphere in Muskegon.
Okay, that part was very, come to find out jobs was good and easy to get. But if you had black skin, you just couldn't get nowhere to stay. That was the part. You know, it was some houses that had 3, 4, and 5 different families jammed up in one house. And you just, and then I found out you could work on the harvest. So, other words, I came up here and worked on the harvest. And I kept with every day. I was up here in a place called a Burrell travel city called Southern Bay. And get a paper every day. And watch for the ads of jobs. Well, I come to find out most of all the places was on strike and whatnot. So, other words, it was a bad year that year, and so I returned back to Arkansas because I know work picked up in September.
Well, I want to ask you, why did you start and why did you leave your home to come here?
Okay, well, that was the beginning of it. See, while I left my home to come here, I hear from different people what come up in this part of the country. Most of them had jobs making much better salary than I was making. So I felt that I should be able to make some of that too.
This was in 1949.
Yeah, that was 49. But that year, it was bad here. So, other words, I returned, the last August, I returned back to the state of Arkansas.
How were you treated in Arkansas? Yes, how were you treated in Arkansas?
Well, I have no certain city that's anywhere I could find a job. So Muskegon paid better than a lot of the places over the state. I didn't want to live in Detroit. I heard too much about Detroit.
Did you ever work on a white folks farm down there to help make a living for yourself, or the WPA, or
Well,
what was the survival mechanism?
Well, I was raised up on the farm. I guess I was one of the best farmers that was for my age, because I had people all the way from, I would say, 20 years old to 80-some years old was well experienced farmers. We used to raise real good crops and things, but it just really wasn't no money there. We had plenty to eat, but no money. And that don't work out. You got to have both of them.
Now, when you came up here, how did you come up?
Well, when I came up here, this last time in '51, I had a Nash car, and a lot of more guys want to come to Michigan to work. See, our plan was